I always don't know when it started. I think it started now. So hey, it's Chloethedev here. Um, it's been a while since I've gone live. That wasn't intentional. I got really busy. Um, a lot's happened. So to start things off, I started my internship at HashCloak. It's been amazing. So my main focus of research is on private validators. So the most in proof of stake networks. So proof of stake is a consensus algorithm, or it's basically what means it's a way to gain consensus, and all that means is a way to agree on something. So if you go to a restaurant and you have 15 people, and you go to McDonald's and you all have to order the exact same meal, it might take you a while to pick the food. So in computer science, you have to have computers and nodes who all agree on what the answer is and how to move forward. So the first big idea of this in peer-to-peer blockchain network was Bitcoin, and their consensus algorithm is proof of work, and that was the first real use case of proof of work that worked. It was not the first use case of proof of work, not by any means, but it was the first use case that attached a monetary value that actually hasn't gotten hacked so far, hasn't been able to be taken down. So that's kind of the novel idea of it. Ethereum uses proof of work as well, but they're transitioning to a proof of stake system. And that's why a lot of this research is important, because a lot of chains do use proof of stake, delegated proof of stake, and different types of proof of stake. Not the type of proof of stake that Ethereum 2.0 is going to be using. Besides that point, my research has been really fun, and I kind of started on just general validator privacy. So I started with like mixed nets, DC nets, so mixed nets like Onion and Tor. So Tor would be the example of mixed nets in action. So if you've heard of Tor, like private browsing before, basically it routes your traffic through other people. The issue of that is it's high latency. So because your message has to go through other nodes, other computers to get unencrypted, it's not very good for making really quick decisions. So with that being at McDonald's example, we want to make a decision as quick as possible. We want to get into McDonald's, order food for 10 people, and leave. And so that's kind of the first big issue, is how do you make this decision really quickly, but also keep things private? So mixed nets don't really work well for that. They work well for really good things if you're okay with high latency. So if I want to send a message to someone and I'm willing to wait an hour, I can be very anonymous, where no one can find out who I am. But if I want something where I can make messages, like instant messaging back and forth really quickly, it's very difficult. So DC nets is where my boss sent me next, to go studying and scouring to figure out if DC nets could make it work. So DC nets get a little more complicated. So to finish up mixed nets, they're pretty simple. They call it onion because basically you send a message like an onion, where all the encryption is all these layers of the onion. And imagine it's an onion, I think like an onion with a diamond in the middle. So the diamond is your message. So you send the message with a diamond in the middle, and every layer can be encrypted by one relayer. So basically, you hang it to the next person, they encrypt one layer, but they can't get the diamond out. The next person encrypts, and only the message recipient can get the diamond, but they don't know who sent it and where it came along the way. Anyways, the point is you can use it for many different use cases to obscure away different things about different people, different implementations of mixed nets that use different ways, but that's the general idea. Encryption in that way, using routing. For DC nets, I've read this so many times, but I still think I'm going to have a hard time explaining it, but I'm going to try and do it. And this is kind of why I'm going live and why I'm doing this, is because I think it'll help me with my research to make sure, like, can I teach it? Can I explain these things? Because I understand them when I read them, but I'm not sure I could explain them well. So that's something I would like to work on. So for DC nets, Chaum, that's his name, I think. I've never actually pronounced it myself. I heard it pronounced by someone. I just read it. In 1985-ish, okay, came in with DC nets, dining cryptographers. The general idea, main idea is, if you're at dinner and you have a meal that was paid for you. You want to eat it. It looks delicious, right? But the waiter says the meal is paid for you either by someone at this table who you trust or the NSA or someone who you don't trust, someone maybe poisonous or whatever. So you want to figure out if someone here paid, but you don't want to know who. I guess you could put any idea on, like, what if it wasn't the NSA, but it still killed you? You want to be like, uh-oh, you can't trust, people at this table, whatever. The point is you want to know. How would you do that? So the idea is if everyone sent like a plain message, okay, this is where I get confused trying to explain it, but I do understand it in terms of computers. But I'm going to try to explain it in like terms of eating dinner, because that's the analogy that would help most people. But I understand it better when I use bits and zeros and ones. But let's try this. So you're at dinner, and basically, because you want to be anonymous in your messaging, and that messaging would be, because I have notes of this, I want you to do about my notes. So the messaging would be whether you paid for the meal or not. The idea is everybody sends the same. This is really difficult for me right now. Gosh, today's been a busy day. I'm gonna have a hard time explaining DC nets, aren't I? Gosh, this is bad. This is what happens when you read for like 40 hours a week about this stuff and you just take notes and notes and notes. Is like this, and I've never taken, and this is why I call it Chloethedev Unfiltered, is because I don't want to look at my notes and try and explain DC nets. I want to, in my research, try and explain it, and then maybe next week I'll try it again, and maybe I'll be able to do it without looking at my notes. Because it's quite, for some reason, and this is why I think DC nets haven't been implemented yet, from my naive 3 weeks of internship approach, is because they're not as intuitive. It's very intuitive, in my opinion, to think, hey, I'm sending a message to someone. It's going to be, it's going to be decrypted 3 times. I know that, and so I'm going to put 3 layers of encryption on it. And when it gets to the person, it's going to be decrypted. Like, that's simple to test, I guess, in masses. Where DC nets have never actually been implemented, like in consumer use case en masse, I guess. Sorry, I'm really thirsty. But part of the reason for that is because of, so like with Chalm's implementation of DC nets, it was very hard to find the disruptor. So when someone was like basically not sending valid data to this to the round of elections, picking the correct answer, basically it would take a pretty long time to figure out who it was, and there was no way of really just making sure that that person couldn't attack your network again. So basically, that person could just you can kick that person out of your network, but if you had no way to close your network, they can just come attack your network again. So that was one of like the main issues. And other implementations, like Verdict and Dissent, are like 2 of the main implementations I've been kind of reading about. And don't ask me to explain the difference between the two. But part of the ideas of these were kind of figuring out, okay, well, how do you find out the disruptor a lot quicker? And a lot of parts of that had to do with, okay, computing all your pseudonyms, or doing computations beforehand or at the beginning of setting up. So having a more intricate setup phase, so that when a disruptor was found out, you could instantly discover who that person is and kick them out and still complete the round. By other people being able to say, okay, well, I wasn't the disruptor, so this person must have been the disruptor. So it was a lot quicker to restart rounds, and lower latency applications made more sense with DC nets. But still, I think the biggest issue, in my opinion, with DC nets was, okay, well, people are still just gonna keep attacking the network. There's no strong incentive to not. So I think blockchains and Bitcoin, frankly, provided this incentive mechanism to tie blockchain to economics, where now with Ethereum 2.0, you have pools of ether, so pools of financial assets that can get slashed or taken if nodes or people act poorly or try and attack a network. So now when you have a disruptor in your network, you can slash them or take away their stake, take away their Ethereum. So Ethereum 2.0, you have 32 ETH staked, and you get a reward. You get staking rewards over time. And so the idea of private validation is simply how can, well, I guess you can take different ways of looking at it. So this is what me and my boss are working through right now. And the idea is what is useful to people. So in my mind, this is my personal thoughts, okay, personal ideas, is that there's two main use cases behind private staking. One, like the general use case of, I don't want people to know how much ETH I'm getting when I stake. So I know people are going to know I'm staking ETH. I get it. Everyone knows I'm an ETH head. I get it. But I don't want people knowing exactly how much I'm making. So that could mean I'm a whale, and I don't want people knowing how much how much money I'm getting. Or I just don't want people knowing just because, tax reasons or whatever else. I just don't want people knowing my private business. So that's a reason for private staking. Another more, I guess, important or more, I don't know what the wording would be. A different reason would be, maybe you're in a country where mining or staking Ethereum is illegal, or, having access to the network in that way is illegal. And you don't want a global actor to know you are staking the network because they might confiscate your equipment, they might throw you in jail, they might, attack you in that way. So you need some sort of privacy in that way. And so that is something, in my mind, I have two main ways of, all this information is public anyway on my HackMD, so, and GitHub. So the two main ideas I have are using like a dark rocket pool type of system. So rocket pool is a way where people with less than 32 ETH could stake. So right now, if you have, the only way to stake Ethereum is if you have 32 of them, whatever that means, which costs maybe 5, 6, 8 grand US. The price of Ether keeps changing, but that's a lot of money. So part of what I would like to do is lower the barrier to entry, make it more accessible for people to validate and stake and support the network and gain fees and be a part of all this. So Rocket Pool wants to do hopefully a non-custodial, or you have your own keys, but you are able to stake on the network, on the Ethereum network. So that would be amazing. Imagine you'd only pay $300 for Ethereum, and then you could still be a part of staking the network without having to spend all that money on 32 ETH. But this is not possible yet. People are working on this, but my idea is, well, how could you do this in a private way? How could you distribute your Ethereum privately and stake on the network? So a way would be if you had private validators who were paying the general network and hiding amongst them. So in anonymity in general, you want a set of people to hide amongst. So imagine you have a crowd and you're trying to hide. You want the biggest crowd as possible, and you want to be, if everyone looks exactly the same and you look like them, that also would help. So the idea is, if we can get all the Rocket Pool validators looking the same, and then we can have a smaller subset of dark pool private validators, and then we can have data being randomized across both groups of sets of users. Actually, this private set could be as large as both sets of users, which means obviously you'd be increasing the net, and that word frustrates me so much. And you'd be making people more anonymous because they'd be hiding in a larger set of people. If you just used the one anonymous set, it would be useful. People could hide amongst themselves, but a global actor could just say, okay, well, we know you're in this set of people, you're mining Ethereum. In this idea, a global actor would still know you're mining Ethereum, but they'd have no clue how much you were staking. They wouldn't know who you were. You'd be hiding amongst a large set. In that, the way to make people not know you're even mining Ethereum would be to have a system that was like a layer 2 system that allowed staking for multiple different chains. So think of that whole hiding amongst a crowd system. But well, what if you could stake on one platform where you were hiding amongst the crowd of that platform, but amongst that platform, people were staking on multiple different chains. So Cosmos, EOS, whatever chains. It doesn't really matter if you like those chains. All you're using those stakers for is privacy. So the idea is, if you could have one central platform where people are working together for something, think about it in terms of Bitcoin or proof of work. All you need is a bunch of people to agree to work together on an idea. And the idea for this would be, hey, we're all staking on different networks, but can we agree that privacy is important? If EOS and Cosmos and all ADA and all these chains in ETH 2.0 can agree that privacy is important, HashCloak and others should be able to build layer 2 privacy platforms for validation and for staking that allows users to hide amongst a larger set of people. Like, I don't think it's that good of an idea to have like multiple different locked-in platforms for staking. I think most of this should be open source. If teams decide to implement a certain smart contract they use on Ethereum, they want to rent seek in that way, okay, they should have tokens maybe. So if HashCloak, let's say, created a platform and decided to do something that way, maybe, in my opinion, my personal unprofessional opinion, having some sort of token which incentive people using our specific smart contracts might make sense, because we are going to upgrade our smart contracts and keep up to date with the latest security threats on every single chain that's there. But this stuff should be open source so that anybody can look into what we're doing and fork it and do their own implementation of it. And if they think they can maintain that code better than HashCloak or whatever company could, they should definitely be able to do that. And I think that's the best way to have the most secure network, because if we're not doing privacy right, someone else should definitely do it better. And maybe we can look at and if they want to keep that private, then fine, whatever. But I would hope they would keep that public as well, so that people could implement that and iterate and do better. And maybe we can do better as well. So I know Consensus is working on just kind of that whole idea of splitting up validation amongst others, which is super cool. And I hope that that could be used in a system like this. I hope this can be used in a system where we can have a dark rocket pool on Ethereum that users can stake in, where at least no one will know how much ETH they're getting as rewards. I think that's a very reasonable thing that people should be able to expect that ETH 2.0 will have. Staking on ETH on beacon chains coming out soon. I have to set up my validator for the Madeira. I probably destroyed the pronunciation of that testnet that just released. It should be doing blocks on August 4th. So I have a few days. My birthday's coming up this week. I have had literally no time. I don't think anyone's seen me with a beard in years, or for at least a while, because I've been insanely busy, but I've been loving it. I've been so busy that I stopped doing schoolwork. So that's the other half of what I wanted to talk about. Midterm exams came up. I got busy. A friend of mine needed a place to live. So basically what happened is halfway through my exam week, exams were going pretty well. I had 90s in most of my classes. I was doing well in school, but I wasn't really enjoying the experience. It was I felt like I was wasting my time personally. I didn't think I was getting a lot out of it, but I was getting good grades because I wanted to excel and do well. But I wasn't really learning, and so I was kind of trying to get help in that way. And exams came up, and I really wasn't able to, I guess I could have done well, but I had other things I was doing that were more important that I needed to get done, and I just made the decision to do those things. So, for example, I got a 50% on my intro to C programming class, but I ended up with an A in the course, an A minus in the course. So I didn't really care about studying for the exam because I was still getting good enough grades. And then for my other exam, I think it was like I actually liked that class, key concepts in computer science. It went over like all this like discrete mathematics and all that. I loved it. It was really fun. It was like all the like Starkware and proofs and all that kind of stuff. That zero knowledge proofs and all that. It was kind of that kind of side of things. I really enjoyed it. I did well on that exam. I didn't really study for it, but that was kind of just what I liked doing anyways, the whole math side of things. And then I had a digital design class. I actually like that too. Like it was like building circuits and like so right now I'm talking like we're talking like Zoring messages and stuff like that in the mix nets and all that. So I really enjoyed that class. I learned like a lot more like binary code, and I learned a lot more like hex and doing math like that. So that was really fun for me. But I was with my friend who basically got kicked out of their house, and it was either I figure out where they're going to live and I go hang out with them, or I finish my exam. And obviously I could have still went somewhere and finished my exam. It was not an either or thing. I'm not going to try and sit here and say, oh my gosh, I couldn't do my exam because I was helping someone else. No, it was more that I made the decision that someone was going through a really tough time, and I was too busy giving my attention to that than kind of wasting my time. For me, again, in my opinion, pursuing this degree. And so that was kind of the first real big decision that maybe this isn't for me right now. I was talking to my boss, and they're saying the University of Calgary has a really good cryptography department. So I'm really getting into the whole cryptography stuff. So maybe that's my direction. I'm getting really busy with like Nifty Pride stuff and like the Nifty Pride Foundation. They have their Nifty Pride Center Cryptovoxel Gap opening today, which was really fun, really exciting and crazy, and I loved it. Ciel Noel, an art student from Winnipeg. I think that's in Calgary, so maybe I will go out there. I don't know, but they are our new curator for the foundation. So they're gonna, I guess, figure out what art gets to go in that gallery and what art gets showcased. The Marma J Foundation, the foundation I run, is officially using Gitcoin grant funds to offer free minting on the Nifty Pride mint-based store for artists. So if you're an artist who wants to try out minting digital art, you could DM me, email me, Facebook, whatever. If you know how to get in touch with me, get in touch with me. And I will mint your art for you. It could be music, it could be visual art, it could be PDFs, whatever you want. You can go on Mintbase. They have some instructional videos now they just came out with. I just retweeted them, I think. But if you want to mint some artwork, let me know. I will mint it for you. I'll pay the gas fees and I'll send it to your F address. If you want Argent, they'll give you an ENS name and I can send it to your ENS name. Address on Argent, whatever you want, let me know and I'll mint it for you for free. I think that anyone who wants to create some fun art and have it and be able to display it, if you want to display it somewhere, I have a gallery in Cryptovoxels. I do use it mostly for queer artists. I use queer as a blanket term. If that term offends you, I'm sorry. I would call myself queer. Queer would just be, in my definition of it, is being proud to be myself and not really not being associated with the term normal. Yeah, I don't know. So if you are a queer artist, even more, I will definitely display your art in my gallery. We can pick a price, and if it sells, 10% of that sale price will go towards the gallery to help other artists keep minting art. And then 90% of the sale price will go to you, of course, and you can do with it, do whatever you want. So if you like art and that's what you want to do, please let me know, and I would love to mint some art, because the Marma J Foundation does have a store as well. So we could put the art up for sale in our Marma J Foundation mint-based store. We could put it up for sale on OpenSea if you want to do an auction-based thing. I will try and help in any way I can. I get really busy. So if you want to help out with the Marma J Foundation, feel free to email me or whatever as well. But the Marvin J Foundation just relaunched softly a couple weeks ago. So bear with me and my partner as we revamp what she's in charge of the website. So she's really busy as well, and she's working on that. We are doing it all volunteered. I would say the Marvin J Foundation is an altruistic foundation. We are simply here to help. So if you have a need and you are need help in any way, you need love and support, and not just financially. Like for example, I'm in Windsor and I'm really busy, so I might say, hey, no, sorry, I can't do that right now. I can't help. But I'm in Windsor, Ontario, and if there's something I can do locally, maybe I could help out in a certain way. Maybe I can't. Maybe I know someone who can help wherever you are. I do have, I know people from all over through my different experiences. So maybe I know someone that is able to help you. I do get really busy, and I'm sorry when I can't always help everybody, but I try my best. And so the Marvin J Foundation is relaunching for that, kind of as a whole. Okay, if I'm not doing school, I should at least be pursuing my dreams. And that my dreams are to be able to wake up every day loving as many people and things as possible. Just spreading love and joy and positivity. And so right now I'm pretty busy with my internship. I work about 40 hours a week, but as I said, my friend has been living with me and my girlfriend. We have a 1-bedroom apartment, and she's been staying with us for 2 weeks so far, I think, until the end of August. And it's been great. It's been wonderful, but it does get busy. And it's a lot having, extra people in the house and sharing one bathroom. And, we had a futon in our living room, and now the futon is in our bedroom, and we're just trying to make it work. And our friend actually works an hour away. So we've been driving our friend to work an hour away, working there sometimes. So I've been working my internship at the park sometimes, do my data on my phone. Whatever gets the job done and allows me to help. And I don't say any of this to complain, because I can't even stop smiling, because it's been the most amazing 3 weeks of my life, to be completely honest. It's been challenging. It's been difficult. But in that time, I've become a board member of the Nifty Pride Foundation. I've re-solidified what I want the Marvin J Foundation to be, and what I want to be able to do with that. And I've stopped going to school, and I've been able to really research and figure out something that I really think is helpful for the Ethereum community, and a community that's given me so much. And it's kind of funny because I don't feel like the Ethereum community knows what it's given me, and that's fine. And I don't think it needs to know what I get it back, if I even get to give something back. But I am so blessed. I don't even know how to explain it. And if my boss ever sees this, I hope that she understands. I feel so blessed to have the opportunity to spend any amount of time getting paid to do something that might help other people. And I do believe that privacy is important for many reasons, especially with something as important as your finances, and with something like blockchain, and in my opinion, something like Ethereum, which is trying to be this layer 1 system that lots of things are built on top of. There needs to be some sort of security. There's security in privacy. And so this network that we're all trying to build is not going to be secure unless people feel safe securing it. And I think that people will not feel safe unless they feel like they can have some privacy. Like, people will not feel safe using RBC Bank, Bank of America, whatever, if they felt like all their money was going to be seen by everyone all the time. Not everyone would feel safe with that. So I want to create less barriers. I want those people to feel safe staking on Ethereum. I want people to have that ability to be private with what they do. And I think that's a right people should have. So if anything I research leads to that happening, point blank, I will be ecstatic. And the fact that I get paid to research that is beyond in my wildest dreams. And because of that, so my boss, I don't really want to. Okay, so my boss, in my contract, it says that I can work up to 40 hours a week. And so I work 40 hours a week. And sometimes that means that I'm working 11-hour days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because I do a lot of Marma J stuff. Like I would say I do at least 40 hours a week with Marma J because that's my passion. That's what I love. And a lot of it is just what I like to do unseen, and that's great. But that means that I don't always have, it's tough to juggle it all. And school is getting in the way of that. And I told my mom this weekend, I had a birthday weekend. My mom, I got a cello. I got the cello. I'm sorry, but I've always wanted a cello. And I asked my mom for a cello for my birthday. And like my girlfriend kind of asked for me. It was really cute. I got a new pair of Adidas shoes and I love them. But the shoes are actually amazing. I'm sorry. I just can't. The excitement about the fact that I got a cello. I've never played cello before. I play guitar, ukulele, flute, piano. I dabble in piano. Okay. And when I say I play these things, I can strum a guitar. I'm a campfire guitarist and ukulele player. Okay, ukulele, I struggle. But I just love the sound a cello makes. So I was like, I want a cello. I want to learn cello. So I got a cello to give for my mom, but she was like, how's school going? And I was like, it's going, I guess, I suppose. I don't check my emails. I don't go to class. I'm busy. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm busy. And it's funny, my boss, I was talking to my boss about it. And I was like, do you think that me dropping out is a good idea? Like, do you think I can be a researcher? Because I realized that researching is what I love. I love it. I love it so much. I love it. Okay. Like I found what I love to do. But I always felt like I had to get my doctorate degree to research. So I have my master's in sports psychology, and I got into the University of Utah for clinical psychology, but I didn't keep going that route because I kind of got bored of psychology, and I really started. I love psychology, but not like the academics of psychology. I love psychology in a broader sense. So like, I think computer science basically is psychology. I think the way nodes work, the way you achieve consensus. So the way you achieve consensus, in my opinion, is basically psychology, and the economics of how you get nodes to come to an agreement, and how slashing works and how attacking models work is all based on the psychology of those attackers, and why someone would do something that you want them or don't want them to do. And so I realized that computer science is probably more my route. But then I realized that computer science I can learn on YouTube, and like I can pay like $7 a month and do that. So why not just read research papers and read whatever I want, and then if I have struggles, I can use YouTube or whatever other resource to learn that. And so if someone was going to pay me to research, that's what I want to do. So Makira sent me this article, and it basically went over the fact that like to make a decision about whether college is right for you, the real question is do you have something else to do that's a better use of your time? And in my opinion, I did. And that doesn't mean that I have something better to do that is a better use of my time than every college program out there. I definitely would not be conceited enough to say that. But personally, I think that my internship right now for the next 5 weeks has more value than any degree that I could pursue, first of all. And definitely any degree that I could pursue in the next few weeks, right? I could always go back to school if my boss does not want to hire me back on, I'd be sad, of course, but I would definitely try and find a new research position somewhere. And if I couldn't, I would definitely love to educate myself in some way. Consensus Academy, I've been meeting a few people online who actually took their front-end development academy program. It's about $1,000 for the cohort. It's about 9 months, from what I remember. I applied for their scholarship program last year, didn't get in, which I was actually pretty sad about. But it was okay because I took Julian's 30-day blockchain course, and that led to so many other things that I loved, like going to University of Windsor, getting my internship, and doing what I'm doing now. But I've been kind of tweeting at them saying, like, please release a security course. Like, please release a course for back-end people like me who want to work for a client. So I realized that my dream is to work for a client team on ETH 2.0. In their research department, hopefully. I do not like coding. That's not my thing. I want to be a theoretician. I want to get paid to sit there on my ass all day and read and study about how to secure the way in which the world connects to the Ethereum blockchain. That would be awesome. Personally, I would want to work for, right now, I don't know much about the client team. I'm trying to get more involved in all this. It's been very complicated. And I'm also busy with my internship and everything else. That's why I think the only way for me to actually do this is to get a job there, is because keeping up with all of this is too hard to do with everything else I'm doing. Like, I love working for HashCloak right now. And I want to, I don't know, I love the route that the company takes of privacy. And so maybe I'd love to work for HashCloak and like consult maybe for the NIM client. But basically NIM or status, whatever you want to call it, is working on a client for ETH 2.0 that's mobile first. And so in my idea, my thought process is they're trying to do it on older phones. So everyone has old phones laying around. If you can run an ETH 2.0 node on an old phone, that would be awesome. People say, oh, it's not possible, oh, it's not whatever. Okay, I don't care. The thing is, if you could get an ETH 2.0 validator to run privately on an old Android phone, 99.99% of the planet would be able to do it. I know there's bandwidth concerns, but if Starlink put satellites up in the earth and made it possible for anyone on the earth to pay for connectivity and bandwidth, then all you would need is the ETH, right? Stake your validator, have it pay for your bandwidth, and you could provide economic prosperity for any community in the world, as long as you had that bandwidth, as long as the connectivity. So in my opinion, that's accessibility. Any Android phone, like that is a barrier that I think is good. Now, I know Ethereum wants to have specifications where they don't take up an entire device. So they're trying to make it so you can run it on a laptop and not take up all your space. It might slow you down a bit, but you can do other things. I would rather push for phones being super powerful or charging people twice as much on consumer phones that have the ability to stake Ethereum privately and give, because I think you should give the value. If you tell someone that your phone is just a telephone, that might be $20 at Best Buy, right? But if your phone is your camera and it's your workout app and it's your music and it's everything else under the sun and it's your algorithms and it's also your wallet and your identity and it's your passport and it's your everything else, I don't think it's obscene to assume that device might cost $3,000, $4,000. And why wouldn't that device be subsidized by a lot of governments, by a lot of companies? I definitely see a lot of this being, like if someone says that your data can be sold safely without any of your private information being given away, would you sell it for a free phone? I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't, maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't, maybe I would, I don't know. But if it was provably safe, so now you go into like zero knowledge stuff like cryptography, if it was provably private, that your data was not being leaked, but you can gain monetary value from selling your data, would you do it? So would you get Ethereum dripped to your account every second for selling your data to Google? I probably would do that because right now Google's already taking my data for free. I have a Google speaker that's listening to me all the time, and whatever they tell me, I'm sure they're using that in some monetary gains, and I'm actually okay with that because it makes my life a bit easier. But I would be more okay with that if I could have like a zero knowledge proof that I could compute at any point in time, and I compute it whenever I want, but I don't have to compute it. But when I do compute it, I can get a verified proof that my data has not been leaked in any way, but I'm getting paid for my data being sold. And I can choose how much data is being sold and how much is stayed local and all that stuff. I think there's a lot of ways to use zero knowledge proofs and cryptography to make it a lot safer for people and give people choices, and give you more ways in which to sell their things that they have, or to produce value from themselves, or actually to extract rent out of themselves. I think everybody has value, and that's true. And I think the Matrix shows this in the coolest, most weird way by making human beings like batteries, which is so illogical. But like, I love it because it shows that every single human being has value, regardless of what's going on. Regardless of what you think and what you do, you have value. You can power this system. And so my idea is, if you give someone a phone for free, and you can take their location data and sell that to companies, and that value can be higher than the phone cost of manufacturing a phone, then you can create value out of nothing, arguably, I suppose, right? We do it anyway. We print dollars out of nothing. So why not create real value out of nothing and do it in a verifiably secure way using math and allow people to live their lives doing whatever they want, but be productive. In my opinion, most people, I would hope, would choose to be productive, but arguably it might not matter because everyone has a different idea of productivity. So I would hope that in this system where you allow people to choose what they want to do with that freedom now, the more you do, the more you could get paid, right? Because the more you travel, the more money you spend, the more data that Google would have on you in this analogy. So the more stuff that you could arguably have for free, because you'd have more of a following. If people following you, you'd be a natural influencer because you'd have more stuff. So the harder you worked, the more trips you'd go on, the more you'd be able to show those things, the more people that would see you. So the more there was those trips for free, because they'd be able to sell more trips because you went on those trips and showed them. So I don't think it's that outrageous to have a system where people could just choose to work hard and go on more trips, or just choose to just enjoy whatever you think is success. So maybe success isn't going on trips. Maybe working hard isn't making lots of money, and maybe that's stressful for you. I got into a really big argument with my dad the other day because he was telling me that most people want to be rich, which very well might be true. My main point was that it's impossible to know what most people want, and regardless, how would you presume that? I don't know if wanting to be rich is actually what most people want deep down. It might be what they think they want. I think, yes, most people think they want money because they think money brings stability. But I'd say most rich people that I know, I don't know very many rich people, but I know a few people that I would label as what society would think is rich. And they do not seem to be inherently happy because of their riches. I know some people that are wealthy that I would say seem very happy and content. But that is definitely not because of the riches, it's because of the stability that wealth has provided them. And I know many more people who I would consider society would label as poor or not wealthy, who I would consider are very, very content because they do not strive for riches. They try and be content with what they have. And this is why I wanted to do this more often, because I didn't want to go live for 44 minutes. I want to do these more often so that they're about 10 to 15 minutes long. But I did want to kind of just have a live session to kind of encompass everything that's been going on, because I feel like it's been a whirlwind with my friend living here with us, with my birthday weekend at the lake. I got a cello, and just, I've been trying to support like Bliss Skate Shop with the Marma J Foundation. That's one of the endeavors that we want to support. They're doing a lot for the local Windsor community. They're doing a lot to help young skateboarders in the community, not only in Windsor, but also in Barbados and Jamaica and other countries. They send pads and boards and decks, so girls can get to skate and all this stuff. So they have free wheels and free skateboard parks in the shop and all that kind of stuff. So that's been one of our main endeavors. The main thing that sparked the resurgence of the Marvin Day Foundation was someone who I have not met again. So I really want to email them and try and get back in touch and figure out how I can support them, because they were the reason that I did all this, but they seem to not really trust technology and all that stuff. So it's really hard for me as someone who does really trust technology, because it comes down to math, and I do trust math. She's someone who I think will be very instrumental in bringing about a lot of change. She'll be a catalyst for love and positivity in the Windsor community. At the same time, I'm not sure that I can just give her a bunch of money to get started on something. So I'm trying to figure out a way to really use her, what she's trying to do as an idea for how I can just get that done and have her be a part of it. In whatever way she chooses. So what she wanted was a space in Windsor with which to have the community be able to create physical art, and then eventually maybe digital art as well. So part of the money raised is going to eventually, hopefully, provide a space for that. I do think that in 2020 with COVID, that is really difficult and maybe not very logical use of funds. I think that maybe it's a lot more the barriers for people to create digital art and then showcase it in a metaverse and then have a link to show their friends is very low, but the barriers to rent an actual building where people have to come in and wear masks and create physical art is very high. And I'm not sure it's logical to spend money on that. So maybe it might be an idea of what her idea was, and I might focus on the digital part of that. I'm not really sure. The main goal, as always, is to spread love and positivity, and that takes, in my opinion, being efficient with that as well. So any money that the Marvin Day Foundation gets, all I can promise is that I'll try to be efficient and as efficient as possible, and to the best of my ability with the way I spend it to bring about love and positivity in the world. And if you decide that you donate anyways and you want to make a Gitcoin grants profile and donate to the Marvin Day Foundation, then thank you. And I would love to use that at this point in time. What I'm using that for is paying gas fees on Ethereum. They're very high right now, so that digital artists can mint their art on Ethereum. So that's what I'm using it for. And over time, I hope to increase the amount of things I'm using it for. So for example, I want to have live events in the gallery, and I want to pay artists for that. So I believe that people have value. And so if I say that I'm going to have an artist perform every Friday at a certain time, and I'm going to pay them 0.1 ETH for that, I want to just pay them and do it and display that art. And if no one comes to watch it, that's okay. Because the artists will get paid, and hopefully they'll showcase that, and they'll want to, and obviously I'm going to try and promote it and try and showcase that to my best ability, of course. And the goal isn't to have no one show up. The goal is to value somebody and let them perform and express themselves to their fullest ability. And if I will be there, and I will be watching, and I will love it, and anyone else who wants to enjoy that expression with me can do so. And hopefully it'll bring about love and positivity, and it'll be a catalyst for change and bring about more hope and love in the world. And if you'd love to be a part of that, I want to start doing that. it's been really difficult to find time to get all this done, but I will find time. And the full launch of the Marma J Foundation is hopefully going to be the next Gitcoin grants round for the launch party. And so all of this is just to get ready for that. So I'm working my internship to make money to be able to pay for artists to perform in the gallery. I'm spending my free time setting the gallery up. I am a board member of the Nifty Pride Foundation, so I can curate artists and help them create art and have a place to spend this money on chain. And if you know of a good way to spend this money on chain, if you know of someone who is in need, is in dire need, if they have an ENS name, I will try my best to help. I cannot say that I'll just be sending people funds. No, if I think it's an efficient way of using those funds, then sure. I think that people creating art is a very personal way to work through a lot of issues. It's very therapeutic. It can help a lot of people individually, and it can also be a way to showcase things and express things. And so right now, I think gas prices on Ethereum are way too high and it's not efficient. And so if I can pay for people's minting of art, that is an efficient way to show love to people. And in my opinion, everything I do needs to be verifiable. And so if I spend ETH on a minting function, then everyone can see that. I don't want to be withdrawing ETH, spending it on other, on crap. All ETH that I get into my account at this point is from Marma J Foundation grants and HashCloak, my job, and whoever else sends me money. All money that I make, so I get paid in DAI, and then I swap it to ETH every week, and that's all I do. And then I use all my money for the Marma J Foundation. So my Chloethedev.eth is the Marma J Foundation pretty much. And then my girlfriend works as well. And then she draws, works. She draws. She's a very talented artist. I think she's the most, if you're asking who I think the most talented artist is, I say my son, and then my girlfriend, and then my mom, probably. But my girlfriend draws, so if you want to get some my avatar is done by my girlfriend and some artwork around my girlfriend. I think she's amazing. She got an iPad recently, so she's fully learning a whole new platform now, and she's been doing great. She's been struggling a bit; it's been hard for her, but she's doing so awesome with it. And I love her so much. Okay, well, we go off topic a little bit, but yeah, I can't remember what I was saying anymore. But if you want to mint some artwork, just message me and I'll mint it. Oh, but yeah, I kind of want to explain the economics of the Marma J Foundation for those who do donate. Some Hudson Jameson, some friends. I don't want to name too many friends. Rebecca, who probably wouldn't mind being named, and Spelly and Ron and some other people. I really appreciate all of those donations. With my brother and all that stuff. My brothers. I really appreciate it. Most people who donated shook their phones on ShakePay, got free Bitcoin, converted to ETH, made Gitcoin accounts, and donated for free. And so I really appreciate that. If you don't have money to donate, please do not donate. I do not want your money. I work so that I can give away money without having to take your money. So if you'd like to help, please donate in the next Gitcoin grants round. So save your money until then, because I think it's an efficient way of donating. So maybe make a Gitcoin grants account. I'm gonna go through setting up all these links and making blog posts where I have all this information that shows you, okay, how to set up a Gitcoin grants account, how to fund it, how to shake on ShakePay, the affiliate link, so that we can get some, dollars if you do that. But yeah, my goal, for example, on ShakePay, people can earn $1 a day shaking their phones. If I got 100 people to give that to the Marma J Foundation, during a Gitcoin grants round. That would be thousands of dollars. Okay, so that would be free. People shaking their phones for a marketing campaign, producing thousands of dollars for the Marma J Foundation, which then could provide a way for hundreds of people to create free artwork that they could showcase, give away to friends. It's not perfect. We're not perfect. Those are going to have to pay gas to give it to friends. But what someone can make art for their, for a friend, or they can make wearables for Cryptovoxels. Maybe they can start a company where they mint art and sell it, and they could actually start making a business where we just keep minting art for them, and they can keep selling it on OpenSea. I don't really care what we want to do with the artwork. I just want to help people feel loved, feel supported. I want to support people. And if a simple way of supporting people can be minting people's artwork, well, then that's what I'll do to start. It's verifiable. It reduces the inefficiencies of minting NFTs on Ethereum. And if the funds to do so are from a marketing campaign on ShakePay, convert quadratically, exponentially increased through quadratic funding from the Ethereum Foundation and other groups, Consensus and other groups. Effing mint is all I have to say to that, because that sounds amazing. Again, a lot of this, when I go live, is to get my ideas out in person. Like, so even the beginning of this, when I couldn't explain DC nets, I have read the explanation of DC nets at least 30 times in the past 3 weeks. And there's so many different implementations that it might take me 30 more times to be able to explain it to other people. But I hope if people do watch this, they'll bear with it and they'll maybe skip over it, my horrible explanations. But eventually, I hope that I'll be able to teach people this stuff, because I think it's important. Not necessarily to understand how it works so that you can use it, but more so that other people can understand it who might want to have a better implementation of it. So I'm definitely not the smartest person in the world, but if I can understand these complicated topics and explain to other people who might be better at implementing them, then they could take my ideas or what I think might work and run with it and do better things. So I do have a random list of thoughts of how DC nets might work. I'm going to link it in this video. I'm going to put a bunch of random links in this video that I think that just pertain to what I've been doing recently. That my research, my Cryptovoxels Gallery, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to get off here. I think 1 hour going live is long enough. But no one will probably watch this, and that's totally fine by me. But more efficient is to go on the links of this anyways, and just click some links and figure out what's going on. But to be honest, what's going on right now is that I'm busy. And for the next 5 weeks, you might not hear from me again. I'm going to try and go live every Sunday because I have weekly check-ins with my boss on Mondays. And so I basically just research all week, and just my head gets really fuzzy, and I just take all this information in. And I think that having a weekly debrief with myself going live would be really helpful to kind of go through all this information. So what I'll probably start doing, it will not be this format that you might be used to if you ever see this. But I'm going to have my notes out, and I'm going to go through my notes for the week. I meant to do that today, but what I think I'm going to do is on Sunday of this week before my next check-in, I'm going to do a longer one and go through all the research I've been doing so far. And basically, I'm going to call that Cloethedev Unfiltered, HashCloak Internship, weeks 1 to 4. And that'll be the first half of my internship and how it went and what I've been learning. And I'll go through everything. And then the last 4 weeks of my internship, it'll be hopefully a weekly thing where I am explaining. It'll be a quick, hey, this is what this week, my birthday was good, whatever, for 30 seconds to a minute. But then for the rest of it, I want to really, be efficient with my time. So even if no one watches it, I want to use it as a time to express my ideas and really formulate them and condense them for my weekly check-in. I don't want to waste my boss's time as well with bad ideas, so I want to make sure I go through them all once, maybe for a good amount of time, flush them all through so that On Mondays, I'm giving her a more refined call, and it's more efficient then as well. So if you'd like to take part in those live sessions, I do this live for a reason. So it'll be Sundays, probably Sunday nights. I would love to do it Sunday at noon. I know most people in the world are awake at that time, so I would love to do Sundays at noon for this thing, and that would give me 24 hours to kind of solidify. To be honest, I'm usually working Sunday at noon. I'm usually working Sunday till midnight. So realistically, I'm going to work Sunday till midnight most weeks, and then I'm going to go live after that. So I'm going to start this as an actual thing for my accountability, because if I don't publicize these things, I don't hold myself accountable. I need other things to hold me accountable to things, or else I don't get them done. So starting this Sunday, at least at midnight, I'm going to start going live over my research. I know I've been over an hour, and I know I said that I was going to stop, but I'm going to quickly go through my notes under my HashCloak research, and I am going to, maybe talk about what some things that I might be going over. So under validator privacy, so I was summarizing some research posts. I was going over some general security and design, practices, for good security for any system. I was kind of summarizing, how do you create a secure system? I was going over, Gossip Sub for different publish subscribe networks. Different challenges for deploying low latency networks. Whisper as a potential Gossip Sub implementation for Ethereum. Privacy notions, and also the economics of censorship resistance. So for example, if you're gonna make people private, how do you do that in an economic way? I think Ethereum 2.0 and blockchains have solved this personally. I don't think they've solved it in the sense of the problem is solved, but I think that this is the solution. I think that having people have an economic incentive that they don't want to lose helps. I don't think it solves everything, because I don't think that assuming that everybody is economically inclined, both in terms of knowledge, but also in terms of what they want out of life, is logical. I think you can definitely have a multi-billionaire who is not incentivized by economic means, who could attack a network if the only way to attack a network was by a billionaire who had those thought processes. So that was what I was going through on validator privacy. For the DC net stuff, which has been way more fun, to be honest, DC nets are so cool. There's not enough YouTube videos about this, so I would love, I'm not very good at producing content. So if, honestly, if you're someone who can produce really good animated content, maybe, or maybe I'll get my girlfriend to do this and I'll do voiceovers. But course material for DC nets, I don't see it on YouTube. Not for peer-to-peer networks. And I think it's so cool, using DC nets for privacy. My boss having this idea is so cool. I think she is okay, yeah, I'm I would gush over her for days. I'm so crazy that I'm working for her. I love it. So basically some of that, one of the papers I just finished on the train yesterday, actually, I was on the train coming home from the cottage back to Windsor. And I went over mixing in Bitcoin. So how to use DC nets to do provable DC nets privacy on Bitcoin. So basically, I was able to get mixing without a whole routing network, but low latency on Bitcoin. But Ethereum 2.0 has a much shorter block times than Bitcoin does. So it's a bit different when looking for an attacker. But I have been reading papers, so I'm just going to do this quickly. I know it's been a long time. But my general idea, and I'll put a link to this, is with, what's the word? See, I have this. Accountable, anonymous, no. Asymmetric DC nets. There. So you have a topography of DC nets where there's asymmetry asymmetry within them. So now, instead of having just a DCness at all first at the same time, you don't have uniformity, you have asymmetry. So now you could actually have quicker or more uptime because the nodes that maybe have an attacker in them and you kick someone out, those groups aren't going to be able to reach consensus, right? Because instead of they need 10 nodes to complete consensus, if you only have 7, either you can complete with 7, which means that you lower the privacy of the set, or you can complete with 8. But then how do you get the 8th person? So there's ways where you can just use randomized data for the 8th person in place of that 8th person that you kicked out, so that no one would know they got kicked out besides the 8th person, but that 8th person would know. So that is a good idea, but then the attacker still gains some knowledge. No one else does, but that attacker does. So the better way of doing that, might be to, use someone better in that network to get the job done. So the attacker doesn't actually learn that, there's only 7 people in the network now, let's learn something about those 7, because there's actually 8 people in that network. And that 8th person can come from that asymmetry. So the network that completed their DC network quicker would send someone over to imagine a soccer game, but instead of having it timed by minutes, 90 minutes, it's timed by 3 goals. So if you had Arsenal playing against any other team, right, the game might go quicker. I'm an Arsenal fan, so I use Arsenal, bear with me. But if that game finished in 10 minutes and a lower level team was playing, imagine Arsenal sent over one of their best players to help that game finish up in time. So, because all games have to finish, let's say, with 11 players, and one of those teams got a red card. So in the old system, within 90 minutes, that game would never finish because there's only, there's not 11 players on the team. You picked one out. You need to refill that team in order to reach consensus, in order to finish the game. So the idea is, if you have asymmetry and you say, okay, well, if 90 minutes is our time, well, in Ethereum 2.0, it will be a lot less than 90 minutes. It would be I think 6 seconds you'd have to reach consensus in. But if you had some nodes that were going so quickly where they reach consensus in 3 or 4 seconds, could you then have, a really good node compute that proof, be private, jump over to your network, help you complete your proof. You've kicked out the attacker. That good person gets extra fees for helping out. The rest of the group still gets the complete consensus, gets their own fees. That good player goes back to their own group, gains extra reputation. Their pseudonym can change on both hops, right? So your pseudonym can change on this hop, and your pseudonym can change on the hop back. And yes, you might gain some information by knowing someone's hopping, but you would hope that people were hopping into different groups all the time. So that would also gain more anonymity, because every time someone was hopping from one DCnet group to a different DCnet group in each round, your pseudonym would be changing based on randomized data that's both localized and based on each different DCnet group. So it would almost be like having different teams, and the teams stayed the same, but different nodes would be players in the team, and players would always be changing teams. And every time a player changed the team, their name would change, their pseudonym would change. But that name change was not just based on the team, but it was based on random data that was different for each team. But the random data was also localized and secret. And I guess with enough changes, an attacker that knew all of these secrets and plus knew a bunch of other people's secrets might be able to figure out what these secrets, people's secrets were. But arguably, statistically, you could, and this is not my strong suit. The actual math and proving these things is not my strong suit, but more just theory and reading papers. So I have a lot more work to do in all of my ideas. But my general intuition would say, could you have users then could there be a certain amount of time where you just change your private key, right? If you want anonymity, you might just change your keys out once a year anyways. Also, could you just from the actual, organization, so from the HashCloak organization or whoever runs this system, could you just say from a centralized point, we are going to actually change out these values with random data that no one knows. So we could have like a trusted setup where, so maybe HashCloak wouldn't run it. We have a trusted setup once a month where people can add random value to. So yeah, actually, you know what? You'd have a setup where anybody could add random data to these DCNet teams. I'll call them teams. So anyone can add randomized data to these DCNet teams, and that would just verify that the next pseudonym generated would be random again. And so you just have random pseudonyms so that no attacker could ever figure out that pseudonym. And yeah, it seems like intuitively, as long as you had a big enough set to hide amongst, which goes to my other idea of, so this would be the dark rocket pool of DC nets where you had asymmetric DC nets with staking and all that. And then you would use hiding amongst rocket pool to give you the anonymity of a larger set of people where people don't know whether you're private or not, because the privacy set would probably be smaller than the public set, but you don't know. It could, but either way, you'd help out by adding, like your anonymity set would just be the anonymity set plus the regular rocket pool. So just dark pool plus rocket pool would be the anonymity set, which would be better than before. So that's awesome. And then eventually you just do it with adding in other networks. And then Consensus is already working on splitting up stake with less people. So I am not a coder, and I am not a mathematician, and so I cannot build any of this, but I want to learn how. And I'm so grateful that I get I get paid to research and learn how to do it. So like that's pretty much the idea, though. I mean, the idea is you would just have asymmetric DC nets where people could, stake their ETH. You'd kick out attackers and all that, like I explained. You'd be in the dark pools of teams, and you'd reach consensus within these elections, these single leader elections, and then you'd publish the correct value that you could prove. Everyone, pseudonyms, keeping people randomized, and you could link attacks back to pseudonyms so you know who to kick out in each round. For kicking out attackers. Attackers would lose their stake, so you're economically not incentivized to attack the network. And if you do attack the network, you would use that stake to then pay out the network so that people who are being honest, so honest validators, are incentivized to keep being honest and prove that people were attacking the network. And also, if anyone falsely accuses you, you'll have pre-compiled pseudonyms. Ooh, that's difficult. So if you have pre-compiled pseudonyms to prove that someone falsely accused you, can you also prove if someone changes, adds a random, assault to change the pseudonyms of these teams that are generated? I wonder if the math works. And this is where I'm a theoretician. I would need to research if that makes sense. Could you actually do that? But for my intuition, those would be the building blocks of how it would work. And I mean, Consensus is working on how to do the whole rocket pool idea. And then Rocket Pool would be the company that would hopefully be doing that for multiple different chains. And so they would be able to provide that service of anonymity amongst those chains. And then rent could be seeked simply by from any company from the smart contract. So anybody staking publicly would pay less fees for the service, and anyone staking privately would pay more fees for the service. And arguably, if you really needed more anonymity and more people to help with these DC nets, you could potentially even have users from the public system compile proofs for the private system, but not use the system, but maybe they could add data. Like that was the idea, where they could help out by adding data and get paid for that data. And in that way, they could also join in on those teams and help out with keeping the network more secure in terms of keeping the uptime of the platform up. So it seems like it would work as long as all these other teams got their work done. So I'm trying to also listen in and research on my free time about the consensus stuff, because I want to see how that gets done, as well as working full time, as well as Nifty Pride and everything else. But this video, in my opinion, encompasses most of what's going on in my life right now. I'm not a student anymore at the University of Windsor. I am a board member for the Nifty Pride Foundation. I am technically still the CEO of CELT, but our funds are still locked in COS, the COS exchange, which sucks, but hopefully we'll release soon. Yeah, founder of the Marma J Foundation, and that's starting to get into more swing. And I am a student intern at HashCloak, and I am loving it and having the best time of my life, researching how to have private validators in proof of stake networks, because I believe that proof of stake networks in general, or any economic model, people deserve privacy. And I believe that Ethereum has the chance to be the network that secures the world, whatever you want to call that little vibe. I think Ethereum has the chance to be that, but I think that an important factor in that is people being able to secure the network in a private way, and people to feel secure doing that privately, and being able to devote so much of my time to that, and being able to do it efficiently because I'm getting paid to do it, is wonderful. And having a boss and a mentor to help me through it, to work through these ideas with me, and someone who I trust, to teach me, from their perspective, and help, mold my mind in these ideas has been wonderful. I'll publicly state again that my goal is to one day work for a client team on ETH 2.0, or just for Ethereum, or for whatever that platform is. Right now, I think that working for a client team, researching for Ethereum, would provide me a lot of knowledge to be able to support whatever the future network is. So Ethereum might not be the future network, but either way, I think that it will be a peer-to-peer network that needs to be scalable and private and secure, and I think that Ethereum is the best implementation of that so far, and has the most information and knowledge that's open for me to learn. And so, everyone's very open, seems to be very knowledgeable, or if they're not very knowledgeable, they seem to want to learn and improve and grow. And so I think it's a great place for me to learn. And so I always say, I don't know where I want to learn, I don't know where I want to go to school, but I know what I want to learn. I want to learn Ethereum, and I want to learn networking, and I want to learn security, and I want to learn cryptography, and I want to learn how to ensure that this platform that we all keep building all this crazy cool stuff on is secure. So this artwork, I think, is super cool, but it could all disappear tomorrow if Ethereum isn't secure. So I want to devote my life to making it secure, and so that's why I run the Marma J Foundation as well. So, if I raise enough money, I would love to produce research in whatever way that's possible. Or maybe I just keep working, and if I can work for a research firm, I don't need to raise money for myself. I would love to just raise money and never take a penny of it, and never even touch. I would love to never even touch my ETH address ever again, and just redirect some of my payment to a different address, like an Argent that I use for fun, and then have my ETH address for long-term savings, and then to give away to people for Marma J Foundation. And to me, it's not just giving away to people in terms of giving people money, because I don't think that's very efficient. It's more about supporting people. I think supporting people is very efficient. I think that when you support people, it allows them to produce more. Just like when you support a tree, it can produce more fruit. You support a human, and it can produce more love and more affection, and more, and that's exponential. So yeah, I mean, this video has been way too long. I should definitely be getting some work done now, and I'm probably going to have to work pretty late tonight, but I'm excited for it. I just finished that Bitcoin paper about mixing Bitcoin using DC nets, and so I'm very excited to get onto the next paper. I feel like 3 weeks ago I knew almost nothing about privacy, and now I know a little more than nothing about privacy. But I think that I'm starting to work through an implementation that would be helpful for people. And if all I can do out of my internship is solidify an implementation of how this would all work, that someone else can go and build, and I get paid for that, success, like that would be a huge success. So I'm so glad that I get to do that, and I'm so glad that I get to go back to doing that. And even when it's tiring, when it's hard, and I'm drinking like 6 coffees a day, I'm so glad that I have the opportunity to do it, and I hope that I get to continue after September. But if I don't, client teams, if you need a researcher to just summarize, like right now, all I'm doing for work is summarizing articles, trying my best to understand them, and trying my best to pick out useful information that can be used for a specific use case. And I'm trying to learn as much as I can throughout that. So if any client team out there ever thinks that that's useful, I'd work for not very much ETH. I work for ETH. I mean, I get paid in DAI right now. I don't care. $20 an hour, 20 DAI an hour. Well, Canadian. So I get taxed too. It's kind of confusing, but I don't really worry about the tax. I don't even know what I get taxed. I have no clue. Every 2 weeks, I get sent DAI to my ETH address of a certain amount. I don't really mind how much it is, because any amount to research, in my opinion, at this point, and learn is like, school costs me money. So to be honest, client teams, I'll do it for you know what? I am valuable though. So let's scale that back. I won't do it for free, only because I want to be valuable, and I want to at least do it for charity money so that I can help other people. That's not, if you're doing it for free, wouldn't be efficient. But 20, you know what? 20 DAI Canadian an hour. If you can match what I'm getting right now, and it's after my 40 hours a week that I'm already doing, because I love working for HashCloak, so that's definitely first and foremost. But I want to learn more. I think what I'm doing right now is a very efficient way to learn. Reading papers, having a mentor with which to talk through them, having a realistic goal in mind to learn for. I think it's a great way to learn. And getting paid to do it has been amazing. And so, if you're a client team out there, you need more researchers for Ethereum, please. I mean, other chains are great, but I really love Ethereum. I would do it for any chain because I want to learn. I just want to research and learn. And if I can make money doing that and then take that money and help people, that might help me work for Ethereum later in the future. But my main goal is whatever can get me closer to being an ETH2 researcher and working on, how to help people connect to all this amazing stuff that, all these people talking about, connecting to Ethereum and doing all this stuff and making 1,000% returns a year. But that's not for everybody. So how do we get that to more people? How do we make it more secure? How do we so maybe instead of 1,000% returns for you, how do we get everyone in the world 10% returns? Maybe that's possible now with Ethereum. Maybe, I don't know. I'd love to research that. Maybe there's a way where if everybody was staking, right? If everyone could stake on their phones, well, then maybe all of a sudden staking rewards could be, 5 to 10% at base layer. So maybe 5% at base layer. And when you calculate all the other fees of broadband and internet fees and power fees, it might not be worth it. Yes, I get it. But what if you could, I love all the, I don't love, that's facetious and, sarcastic. But I do not like people, all the excuses of what we cannot do. What if we could? What if we weren't living in a capitalist society? And what if we could provide phones to people for free? right? Where we could, verifiably, sell their data and provide them with income, which could be ETH, which they over time can stake privately and gain ETH over time and gain more ETH staking as well, and then privately secure and validate the network on their phones. Or maybe at the beginning it wouldn't be economically worth it, but maybe over time, so maybe with 1 ETH, it's not worth it, right? But maybe with 10 ETH, it's a little more worth it, and maybe with 100 ETH, it starts looking better. And maybe with ETH at $100, it's not worth it, and ETH at $1,000, it starts getting worth it, but ETH at $10,000, okay, it's worth it. And ETH might never go to $10,000. I don't know. The point is, can we create a system that does work? And when you donate to the Marma J Foundation, that's all I can promise to try and do, is try and create a system where we can make that work, where you can give phones to everyone in the world. Those phones could be staking privately and providing income for anybody, and they can choose what data they want to sell or not sell any data at all and be completely private. If that's what they want to do, do that. If you don't trust it, don't do it. And if you want to sell your data, it was only private, but if you want to sell your data privately, sell it privately. And honestly, if you want to sell your data and attach it to your human being, you could opt in to do that and get paid even more and get more crypto and whatever and do that. If that's what you want to be incentivized by. I think people should have choice to do these things. But yeah, that is pretty much my entire life so far. So I'm probably going to put this video in the Marma J Foundation gallery simply because it encompasses a lot of what I'm doing and where I am right now. And I think it's a really good up-to-date explainer of what is pushing me and what is driving me right now, and what's going on. And because I'm really busy, I think that I can't always be as efficiently talking with everyone. So I like being able to showcase what I'm doing. If you want to reach out to me, I'm always accessible on a bunch of platforms. I might not see the message, reach out twice, 3 times, 6 times. No judgment here. We all get busy at times. As for that, I'm really excited for going live every Sunday. That's kind of what I'm taking out of this chat. This is kind of like leaving a lot behind, and going forward, I kind of want to just make sure I'm just going live once a week. That's kind of my main takeaway, is that I want, and if you got everyone here, midnight Eastern, so midnight Toronto, Windsor, New York time, GMT, I think. I will be going live. I will post the videos after. I will make it its own series, I guess, potentially, like HashCloak internship, whatever. But I think it'll be fun. If you're a computer science student, or if you like Ethereum, or you like scalability, or any of this kind of stuff, privacy, you might get something out of it. You might not. And if you want to just be in the comments talking about something random, you can do that as well. As long as you're being respectful and being loving and kind, you can say whatever you want and come in. But I think that to be efficient with going live, I need some consistency, for myself and for others that might want to join in, that might just not know when I'm going live. But I don't want to be having to promote something and push it. That's not my goal or my intention. So using this as a meeting for me to have to publicly showcase what I'm learning and showcase my knowledge, and also we're looking for funding. I'll put that out there. HashCloak is looking for funding for this kind of stuff. So my boss is in my opinion, a lot more intelligent and in this area than I am. So if you think this is something that's necessary for Ethereum, and you think that this is a pretty cool idea, feel free to check some of the links that I'm going to post about validated privacy. Feel free to check out some of the summaries if you want on my HackMD, and feel free to fund some of this stuff through Gitcoin grants, through funding the Marma J Foundation. If you want to fund anything to HashCloak, I will find a way to send whatever funds you want to HashCloak, so that we can do this for longer. And, if you think that someone else can do this research better, then please, I don't know if I should be saying this, but go on to my HackMD, steal all my notes, and give them to someone else who can implement this. Because I don't really care who implements this. I just believe that privacy is important and it should happen. And if I get to be a part of building it, awesome. If I don't, let's then get it built some other way. I don't really care, but let's just get things built that help people. I'm gonna end it there. This is way too long. I love you all. This is very different than, well, it's actually the same as what I always do, but I'm gonna try to add more structure, make them 10 to 15 minutes long, and make them more centered about what I'm researching, so that I can more efficiently have check-ins weekly with my employer. So yeah, hope you're all doing well. And if anyone sees this, I hope it helps you in any way, because it definitely helps me. Yeah, still dehydrated. I've been drinking this whole time. Love you all. Have a great day. Yeah.